Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to ToshokanFLP. Again, we are your hosts, Sarah Palmer and
Linda Yao.
Yes. So today our plan is to focus a little bit on what the Free Library of Philadelphia has to offer anime and manga fans. There's a lot of ground to cover because we actually have a bunch of things.
That's a lot of stuff. Hence, that's why we shared the screen at the beginning.
Exactly what she said. So first, I want to introduce you to the Free Library website because this is the portal to all good things. And so here we are. You'll see that I think maybe I'll start by telling you how you can use this to actually borrow things when you're when you're at home. So the first thing you'll want to do is log in, and for that you need to use your library card number and your PIN number, which I shouldn't be showing off my number, but anyway. So there it is, and if you don't know your PIN, you can actually click here where it says forgot your PIN, and so long as you have a current email associated with your library card, they will email you your PIN number. If you don't, then it gets a little more complicated, but we can talk about that at some other point. So what I was going to talk about first were the e-resources, since during this period of remote service, we're all about the e-resources. Where did it go again? I'm all over the place. Oh, there we are. So I'm going to start with Canopy and Hoopla, Canopy spelled with a K. Canopy and Hoopla are best known as the sources for our streaming movies that are available through the Free Library. But Hoopla in particular is much more than just movies.
It's audiobooks.
It has audiobooks and it has ebooks. And Hoopla actually has 151 items listed under the subject heading of manga. I'm going to show you that. So let me get back to the proper screen here. Yeah, always hiding. There we go. Okay, so to get back to the main page of the Free Library at any time, you just click on the logo here. Takes you back to the home page. And what I'd like to point out is this blue box here. It's the Find box. And if you click on digital media, that's where you can most easily get to the goodies we're talking about. We have many more databases than just this, but these are the ones that particularly feature media as opposed to simply articles and so forth. So down we go to Hoopla. I'm going to click on here. Now, since I have already created a Hoopla account, it should not be, basically it logs me in automatically on my home computer, but the first time you use Hoopla, you do need to come to it this way and then create an account with your email address and a password.
Actually, you have to link up your library card with Hoopla. Once you register, you have to identify which of the libraries, because Hoopla is a national service for various different libraries, not just Philadelphia.
Yeah, and that's one reason why I said going through the Free Library website would facilitate making that connection, I think. So if you click on everything up here, you see that there are many different topics, or rather many different categories we could search, ranging from audiobooks and comics to ebooks and television And I tried, for starters, just simply typing in manga. And that is a pretty generous search, but you can also,
Ooh.
not all of them are necessarily relevant. For example, some things like this, it says manga, but I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But
Looks
if
like
you
a
click
music
on
file.
format and then you click on comics, that way you definitely narrow it down to comics. As you see.
Oh, I see a couple of titles I want to read already from the list.
And you can also sort by A to Z if you want to just go through and see title by title what they've got. Blade of the Immortal is featured here, as well as some old Tokyo Pop titles like Zingast.
Zingast, yep.
Let me go back because there's more where that came from. Where's my...
Oh, the numbers are coming before as the alphabet, before anytime you see any numerical number, like Arabic written, it's always going to be before A.
Okay, hang on. I have, of course, lost the screen where I have all my notes, so I need to... Oh, here we go. Okay. And if you could also click ebooks and it would similarly pull up some good results. Here we go. So instead of hitting comics, if I click ebooks, that shows 200 and, wait, 48, sorry, my mistake. It shows 40, and a lot of these are the about manga type things, like 1,000 ideas by 100 manga artists, and draw manga, and more of the drawing books in general. And then I believe what Robert Reich is doing here is, I think this is comic form of an informational book. So that's for the manga here at Hoopla. But supposing you want anime. So that gives us a bunch of results, including ebooks again, but we can also, and some music. We've got cartoon themes. Ooh, Vampire Night, nice. And Bleach. I actually didn't do the music search previously, but let me click here on movies. And so we've got a lot of different movies. I've really enjoyed watching Patama way back when, and In the Corner of the World I haven't watched yet, but I read the manga.
Also it's a sweet, well, it's not as good as the graphic novel, but it's just the art style is very whimsical.
Yeah, I do like it. It's a little sad, but understandably so given the context.
So as with a lot of times where people would aggregate the search terms, right? It will automatically bring up a lot of other stuff.
Exactly.
That may or may not be as relevant, but just know that the algorithm is trying to bring up a lot of stuff.
And one thing to notice here, if you click right next to your search term, it will give you some search suggestions, including category searches. So if I just clicked on television-anime, then it limits us to the TV series as opposed to the single films that are on offer here.
Oh,
isn't that pretty cool? And then
that is pretty cool.
And there's movie anime, and so that should just limit us to, well, that doesn't limit us to
Perfect Blue. Oh my gosh, that's a good movie.
Yes. Yeah,
and then you're obviously seeing
definitely more recent things, and also things that are quite old. I mean, Perfect Blue is from many years back, right?
Yes, but it is an amazing adult title. Well, it's an amazing title that is meant for adults. That is a great thriller, psychological thriller.
which is why I'm too jumpy, and so I've avoided watching it. But I'm glad to hear you recommend it.
It's by the late and great Satoshi Kon.
Oh, it's another Satoshi Kon. Okay.
It is. His manga wasn't as good, but as his movies. But one of the benefits about his movies is that they're very similar to real life.
Yeah.
Oh, I see a lot of interesting good titles.
Yeah.
Bluebird, and then there's Galaxy Express 999. Oh, wow. And Lupin.
Yeah, so there's definitely, I mean, there's some things I haven't heard of, but definitely a lot I have heard of.
Yeah.
Stuff for kids, stuff for adults, stuff for teens. It's a good range. I'm impressed by it.
It is a good range.
One thing to be aware of, though, is that Hoopla's collection does change up periodically, so the titles you see here now might not always be here, so take advantage of this while you can. You do only get 4 movies per month, or 4 titles per month that you can check out.
Does this count with 4 between the different formats?
That's a really good question. I think it does, actually. So that makes it, if you want to read some manga and watch some anime, then you need to pick and choose quite severely. But let's see, I feel like there was something else I wanted to point out about our friend Hoopla. There you are again. Okay. So, yes. Yeah. Okay, let's now move on to Canopy. Thanks for your patience. And
Canopy is interesting. It's kind of like pay-per-view for movies.
And it's also a bit more quirky, independent film oriented. So again, we go to digital media, and we go down to the letter K, and here we have Canopy. So if we click on this thing, again, it's a situation where you need to create an account on Canopy. And the search here is not as straightforward, I'm afraid, as it is for Hoopla. Basically, anime is as a search is dead in the water, because either it thinks that you want these 2 things, or it thinks that you mean animals. So what I have found is that going to say browse, and then movies, world cinema, and then you limit it by Japanese, that's going to get you, it's of course going to get you live action ones.
Oh, live action movies.
Yeah, but wait, okay, I did it wrong. Let's see. Let me type in, okay, I jotted down how to do this. Let's see. Okay, best way to search is Japanese, and then limit to Japanese language terms. Okay. Japanese, so like so. And then here you limit to Japanese as one of the available languages, and you get a bunch of interesting looking documentaries. For example, Tokyo Technopride's Japanese Cyber Youth Culture. I haven't watched it yet, but it does seem interesting to me. It is a little old, apparently, according to some of the comments, but still worth looking at. We've got a variety of films from a variety of places, and we've got a documentary here on Kyudo, on archery.
Oh, it has a lot of Akira Kurosawa films.
Exactly,
like
right here.
Rashomon and Seven Samurai.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So get your black and white classics thing on. And then we've got, we do have an anime that turns up here.
Yes, and then they do have a documentary
Yeah.
on Studio Ghibli.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was it. I hadn't read the description. But
Yeah,
I
it
saw
is.
the picture and it looked like Miyazaki to me. So
That one's actually a good documentary. I watched it before also.
I'll have to watch it. And then the Ringu, which is classic horror. Yikes.
It's classic horror. That's kind of scary.
Yes, I'm not watching that one. And we get Padma here as well. So some of these are available across different platforms.
Oh, I saw Sweet Bean before.
Ah, good to know.
It's
dorayaki with the red beans inside. Is that the kind of pancake we're talking about?
It's azuki. Yeah, it's about a succession for a sweet bean shop. It's very Japanese cinema usually is very there's a style that you kind of appreciate when you mentioned last week about the wabi sabi or the permanence of elegance, I think. Is it the elegance thing? Mono
no are.
So it gives that feeling of that type of aesthetic.
Yeah. And
Letter to Momo.
Yeah, which is also beautiful. And again, there's a lot of loss that you encounter in anime, and this is one such case.
And I see Fireworks by Beat Takeshi.
Where'd it go? Oh, this one.
Hanabi. That's has Beat Takeshi in that one.
Yeah.
I see a lot of Japanese cinema, so I kind of know.
So I can see. Yeah.
Certain aspects.
So you'll see.
Another Satoshi Kon movie. Oh my god.
The Space Show, is that which is
Welcome to Space Show it won awards a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Welcome to Space Show was screened and premiered at one of the conventions in the US. I remember because my friend went and spoke with the animators for that movie. But Welcome to Space Show. This one is a very whimsical tale.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did watch that one too. Okay, so we could go on, but no need to do so. Let me.
Quill is also very. It's also very good, and it's also very sad.
I believe you. Yeah. Okay, let me just scroll over to read what I have written. Okay, so that was most of what I wanted to mention about Canopy. Now we're going to move on to Overdrive. So let me restore my screen here and just go back to Free Library.
Sara is showing off a lot of our stuff that is available in the e-resources of Free Library. So, and I keep on gawking at it.
It's pretty amazing. So let's approach it through this link, ebook from Overdrive.
So these are 4 different electronic resources. They have 4 different numbers of how much to borrow or not to borrow. And I think if you return items within a month, it either counts or doesn't count. It's not as strict as Overdrive. It's not as strict as Hoopla. Hoopla restricts it only to 4 books at 1 month.
Right,
whereas
everything else, whether books or movies,
Whereas every other media source is a little bit more, maybe, forgiving.
Yeah, more generous, I would say. So here we are, and I should have printed this out, but oh well. Okay, so if you do a manga all text search, let's do that. Click here on search, then hit enter. You get 529 results, some of which are indeed obviously manga.
Yes, you do. And it's also, you can find it in the catalog on Free Library itself also.
Yeah. And that's right. Some Overdrive and some of the other databases do appear in your regular catalog results, but not all of the databases. I'm pretty sure Canopy does not.
Yeah, Canopy doesn't. But Overdrive is one of them,
Yeah.
and Hoopla is another.
Yes. Now, you can see that you can limit it to comics and graphic books. Interesting that it says books, not novels there. But that will even more cleanly limit it to manga. And then again, changing the way it sorts to title will show you how much of any given series they have. So here we have Beastars, which I'm not actually really familiar with, but it seems
I borrowed it.
Yeah?
I was just about to pull up my ebook account.
Yeah.
I borrowed it for a couple of reasons, and I'm trying to pull up my account. Oh, oops. I also have apparently I went on a hold how should I say this? A hold thing the other day, and I was trying to put holds on stuff.
Yeah.
And Beastars was one of them I started borrowing.
Yeah. So you also see that there are huge quantities of Bleach. There's also huge quantities of Naruto and Dragon Ball and several other well-known series.
All Shonen Jump titles.
Yes,
and
yes,
like One Piece.
Well, I skipped the multiple pages and still had Bleach on it. But
Yeah,
there's also Danganronpa. And then there's titles like Buddha by Osamu Tezuka.
Yes, that's localized by Vertical.
Yes,
and that is an amazing, that won award series. Ooh, Give My Regards to Blackjack is also considered to be an interesting spin on what exactly is Blackjack, which is also Osamu Tezuka title.
Right. So yeah, I was wondering if it was some sort of response to.
It's a response because there's a lot of Japanese creators who are fans of Osamu Tezuka. Like I think Naoki Urasawa, he wrote Plato or 20th Century Boys.
Oh, that's well known, yeah.
Plato, I think, is like kind of a response to Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy.
Huh.
Interesting. See that.
So, among all those graphic novels, there are 9 in Chinese and 1 in French, which is kind of interesting to me. So, supposing you weren't feeling in a fictional mood, instead you were feeling in a drawing mood, you could go back up here, uncheck the comics and graphic, or even leaving, I'm going to take that down. So, then go to subject, click more, and click on art. And that narrows it down to the 10 art-related things, most of which are manga drawing, with the exception of make your own squishies. And then this more general drawing on the right side of the brain, which is a classic art instruction book.
So normally with ebooks is that they don't have a specific call number for a lot of the graphic novels, or well, technically it's often sometimes graphic novels is often organized by either title, which is or title or author. All right.
Right.
Otherwise, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, you may want to look at call numbers such as 741. Call numbers I always refer to as like an address, a physical address for a book. Where exactly would you want to find a book specifically about a topic?
Right, and I'm going to go more into some of the call numbers later. But I wanted to point out that with the search on anime turns up there, and then we're going to move on to Freeding, sorry. Where am I again? Technical difficulties. So we go back, or we can simply click search and type in anime. Hey, that's not search. This is search. Okay. And here we go. And we get 2,366 results, which is
that's a lot of titles.
Yeah. And I think that were we to limit it to subject, we'd get a more clearly defined. That's looking for anime regardless of the location in the description. So yeah, you can cut it back down to size by using these further subject headings. And then, so now we're going to return home to the home page and go through digital media. And I wanted to point out two things that are not currently worth looking, or several things that aren't worth looking at in terms of this topic. There are some comic audiobooks within the system, but there are no manga that I can see as audiobooks, certainly not from Overdrive. The other place I was hoping to find some music was the contemporary world music, no J-pop, no K-pop, or at least nothing that I recognized as being those things. Same with music online. I was unsuccessful in finding anything there. There's a Smithsonian related one that doesn't have anything either. So yeah, but Hoopla, which I just saw today, does have some anime related music. So go figure. But now we're going to go to Freeding. And let's see. So you can click there and then click on comics and graphic novels, and you'll see a whole bunch of things. And among these would be anime and manga. Or you can simply do the typing in of manga. And
because granted, there's already amazing graphic novels, even without limiting the searches for it.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm not steering you away from borrowing manga, or sorry, graphic novels from other types. But if you're specifically looking for manga, then it does help to limit it. And since there are a few other things that are scattered in there, like the name Manga Wadi and stuff like that, you can then click over here on comics and graphic novels and weed out some of those. And you see some more well-known titles like Berserk, Oh My Goddess, the ones that have been around for a while, but that's not a bad thing. I think Blade of the Immortal showed up in several of these.
Oh My Goddess has an interesting publication history in the U.S. It's very it has a lot of issues. It's with its publication.
Meaning I'm going to step away. Keep on talking.
Oh, okay. So I can't right now control the screen, but Oh My Goddess has a very interesting localization history. So it's one of those series in which it's kind of it has a lot of tropes that people avoid or actually should be appreciative of, but it's also one of the older titles. And a lot of American fans may not think that it is a great title to look into. There's also Blood. Blood has an interesting anime / music tie-off. There is a live-action movie for Blood. It's about a vampire. And what else is there? I can't see. I can't move the screen, so.
Right.
Hey, look, there's Sara.
I wish we could do that, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So I just sorted it alphabetically, and lots of things on the V. There's Duncan.
I also see a lot of the. I also see a lot of Lady Blood. Wait, is it Lady Blood Killer?
Lady Snowblood was there.
Yeah. Lady Snowblood. That's actually an interesting title. And then there's Cyber Freeman. That's also interesting titles, because
Trying
for
to-
a short while when they were localizing everything from Japan, right? They grabbed all of the that samurai revenge stuff, and then they brought it over. And I see Guardians of the Louvre. It's by the amazing Jiro Taniguchi. That's I love his stuff. He also passed away a couple of years ago. And then I see Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, which is also another interesting series to look into. But Jiro Taniguchi, actually, he died a couple of years ago. He actually got an asteroid named after him.
Oh wow! Congratulations, Jiro.
But he was much more famous in France. Oh, look, Mob Psycho 100.
Yeah.
And then there's a Lone Wolf Club. Oh, and there's MPD Psycho. MPD Psycho is good. Oh, and then also I see Evangelion. Oh my!
It looks like it's only the spin-off that's sort of more
It's that part in the Neon Genesis series where they talked about a what if possibility world where Shinji and everyone was like normal school kids.
Yeah. Not quite the level of the regular series, as I understand.
But you see, Oh My Goddess, it is considered to be an interesting yet older title, because it's one of the titles that everything got localized, but it's localized out of order. So a lot of people kind of got into it and not got into it. And then, see, Satoshi Kon's Opus, that's one of his 2 manga that got translated into English. As well as there's also Path of Assassin, which is an interesting, if you want to see the nitty-gritty artwork that is associated with samurai and revenge, that Path of Assassins actually, it fits that. It's about Hattori-kun, who is if you ever seen anything about like Dynasty Warriors or like Sengoku Basara and all that other stuff where they talk about the Japanese trying to get formed into one nation historically. Yeah. So that's also an interesting title to see. Yeah. I read that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. You read the whole series?
No, I just read 1 or 2 books from that series because my library at that point I was in another library and they only had 2 of the paperback version. This is before all the ebooks that you guys see right now.
So sometimes these comics will be available as it's basically streaming, and then sometimes you can get them as downloads. So this is being downloaded as a PDF.
Wow, PDF, that's generous.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a PDF that is sort of set to expire or to no longer exist at some point or not.
Oh, it's one of those PDFs.
It might be. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it. But anyway, 222 is a pretty significant amount of items on Freeding. So I was pleasantly surprised there. Now, there's another resource called Gale eBooks. Formerly the Gale virtual reference library.
Wait, they renamed itself?
Yep.
Wow, I did not know that. I used to go into Gale virtual reference library a lot.
And so back we go. Gale eBooks. So you're not going to find fiction here, but you are going to find commentary. So if we just simply type in manga, Bangabese, I said manga. Okay, then we have some cool looking titles. Now these are articles actually, or not, some chapters rather. These are chapters from the book The Art of Anime and Manga. So you could either approach it by clicking on the chapters, or you could simply click here on The Art of Anime and Manga and get to see the whole thing at once. Do ebook and it pops up right there. Can you see how it popped up where you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool, I think.
You could also expand it to fill the entire scene. You could also export the citation content if you're ever researching about it and
Yeah.
Am I getting a little bit too academically on you?
No, it's all good. And this I want to read sometime. Manga and its impact on the graphic novel.
Oh yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I saw something about shoujo art.
Yeah, that's indeed. It's from the Encyclopedia of Romance Fiction, of all things.
Oh.
Shoujo manga and romance, which definitely.
I also see an article down lower is on Clamp. Clamp is amazing. They actually have like an article.
There's you what to say. I don't know.
Watase and then there's another one, Clamp, I think. These are different specific.
Oh, it's the first article.
These are different specific mangakas.
Yeah. And we've got really UXL, which is a major nonfiction reference book creator, has a series apparently called UXL Graphic Novels. And let's skip ahead a little bit because there are a lot of chapters in that series. Writers Directory, Osamu Tezuka, you got an article on major 21st century writers, gender evolution in graphic novels. That sounds interesting. Making them accessible. Then anime, from a discussion of pop culture.
This reminds me, the scene of anime and manga studies have expanded in the last 10 years or so. And because whenever I go to conventions, I would often seek out the panels that make me want to explore or consider to think about what exactly is there. And there's a scholarly side that is forming from the studying, from the liking of anime and manga. There is a scholarly side of seeking.
There's a website that I've bookmarked that I need to share about that, but not today. If you'll look at this Video Hounds Golden Movie Retriever, there are many entries from that here focusing on different movies. So that's also some interesting things to look at. Especially, I suppose, if you're trying to decide whether or not to watch that movie. So Freeding, thumbs up.
That is thumbs up.
But that was not Freedom. Gail, thumbs up also.
Gail, thumbs up.
Gail ebooks. Okay.
I don't know, but all free library e-resources, thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. We are grateful to have them. And it's very important that you guys out there know about these, because if people don't use our electronic resources, they're liable to disappear because they're not cheap to maintain if nobody's using them. So we want you to vote with your clicks and make sure that the resources that have good amounts of manga and anime related items stay with us. So now I'm going to I'll have Linda talk a bit about physical locations in general, and then we're going to talk about how to figure out where things are using the catalog.
Did you want me to share my screen or no? Or do you want to continue poking her?
Well, I'm prepared to continue to do the walkthrough of the website.
Okay.
But if you wanted to say in general, sort of your experience of visiting different sites.
So one thing is that I'm considered to be kind of old school-ish. I usually like to do that walk into a new library experience. That's one of my goals is to visit as much free libraries on site as possible. Free library, and we have like we have over 54 different branches, right?
It's sometimes hard to calculate, but it's definitely more than 50 and less than 55.
Yeah, definitely more than 50. And so whenever I go to physically on those sites and those libraries, right, I just ask the librarian there, where is your graphic novel / manga collection? Because very oftentimes I usually like to just pick up books. I usually like to just pick up books and I borrow it. Because we could borrow up to 40.
Yeah.
Or is it 50?
It is now 50 items up to 40 books.
40 books. So I usually sometimes I just end up, my back usually breaks. As usually whenever I go to the Parkway Central, where they have the Teen Field Center, they have the newest collection of graphic novels / manga, but they also have a lot of books. So reading graphic novels, there's a lot of volumes of stuff. And so,
sort of like potato chips, you can't eat just one, you can't borrow just one.
Yeah, I know. And then oftentimes, if you do go to, just be aware that sometimes if you are an adult browsing the teen collection, just know that you have to be respectful of their space.
Yes, and there's to some degree a time limit, I think.
There is a time limit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And same thing goes with
around and hang out reading.
Same thing goes with browsing. Same thing goes with browsing children's collections, because graphic novels do exist in both children's and in adults and in teens.
Yeah.
It gets classified into 3 different ways of reading.
Right. And for the most part, in my experience, the adult graphic novels, the teen graphic novels, and the children's graphic novels show up in 3 different places. I know of at least one branch where at that time they interfiled adult and teen, but I felt that was not necessarily the best choice.
Usually manga is often advised. Any manga is often advised to be put into one collection, rather than interfiled in with the adult collection, because you can't find stuff that way.
Right. Yeah. And it just makes shelving easier if you've got manga all by itself, because then way you can pack the shelves closer together and shelf more things that way.
Yes.
But definitely dividing by age is important, because not all books are for all people. And we're not physically preventing anybody, a teen, from going to the adult section, but we also want to indicate that material is meant to be mature.
Oh, this reminds me. I had an experience when I went to Tacony. Tacony is and I literally borrowed over 10 volumes of Fire Force.
Yeah.
Because they had it all in a row, and I just grabbed.
That's great. So yeah, that's quite a recent title. So that's useful information. I need to look into that one.
So oftentimes with reading graphic novels is that oftentimes it reminds me of when I go to Japan and in the bookstores. You would often see people browsing and sitting and reading for hours, like graphic novels, because it's really easy to read.
Yeah, and I believe there's actually a Japanese word for browsing manga in the convenience store while standing up. I forget what it is.
Well, you could get back to me on that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting phrase I want to know.
Yeah. So, of course, there's a lot of benefit to walking into a library and browsing. But certainly right now, that's not an option for you all. Planning out what you'll do when we reopen is a good thing. So if you then click on catalog.
Catalog, and this is actually another way, if you even want, and we will be introducing soon, I believe, I'm not sure the date, we're going to actually be introducing a service where patrons can call specific libraries and put books that is shown on the catalog as reflected that's available to pick up at that branch.
Yes, details are still being worked out for the most part, but that is true.
Lots of details are happening, and so with using the catalog, you would oftentimes, like, if you put in the word like manga, or like you could plug in the word manga, and it'll lead you to looking at different call numbers. And so a lot of the call numbers right now is how to draw books or manga, the cultural aspects of it.
Too, yeah.
Everything is roughly 741.5, which is
there are some slight differences depending. But before we even get to the call numbers, I wanted to point out one thing. Using the advanced search has a lot of benefits, because you can narrow things down for example, if you just wanted to know what was at the Cobbs Creek Library, you could click there, and then one of the typical subject headings is graphic novels Japan. And you can put that in subject and then hit search. And that shows you what's supposed to be there at the branch.
Yes.
Although the one warning I give you about this is that it always makes sense to click on the title and then look down at what it actually says below. Because even if an item is marked as lost or has been checked out for years and years to somebody else, it's still going to show as present. In this case, it's fine, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you won't actually see the library that you're looking for there.
But also, it's also interesting because they actually sort everything of angelic layer into one category, regardless of what value
one
number
record,
it is.
which they have stopped doing as much. But angelic layer was, as you see, published 2002. It was one of the early titles when they were sticking them all in the same record.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Yeah, because now you see Death Note Volume 1 is its own record.
Yep.
15, etc. So, but the other thing to do is, so we do this search. Oh wait, I wanted to take off that limit. Hold the phone, go away limit. So I can click on this X and remove it. And so now I see that if I use that subject heading, I've got 3,268 items, different items.
And your goal is to try and narrow the search. Oh, yes. The Pushman and Other Stories. That one's a good one.
Yes.
It's a good detective noir type of story. I am sorry if I'm bringing you too much.
No, there's a lot of good stuff to point out. But I wanted to point out right now this column on the side for narrowing search. And indeed, it is good for narrowing search, but it's also good if you click, if you look at the branch description here and you click more, this shows you how many Japanese graphic novels are at each branch. So this is really where you can see where to focus if you can only visit a few branches and you want to visit the ones with the most manga. So there, I mean, as you might expect, a regional has a fair amount. But you'll find that, of course, Central also, to be expected, it has quite a number. But what you might not have expected is that the Rodriguez branch, where I used to work, has 1,028. But Whitman blows Rodriguez out of the water with 1,326.
Wow.
And meanwhile, I'm working to build up Kensington's. We're at 710, so that's actually more than at least two of the regionals.
Well, Northeast Regional has like only 600 plus. I know we are not the biggest, but not as bad though.
So what this does reflect is that even though we librarians don't have complete authority to buy whatever we want, we do have the authority to buy copies for ourselves of titles that are already in the system. So if you've got a manga-loving person at a given branch, it's very likely that they will be it's very likely that they might decide to use some of their discretionary money to bulk up that collection. And this is where you patrons come in, because if you say, hey, why don't we have copies of this series here? Basically, librarians make note of that sort of request, and they will keep it in mind when they're making their discretionary orders. So don't think that what you talk about doesn't matter. What were you saying?
Isn't discretionary order like everything all existing? It's only having the ability to order existing book titles in the catalog already.
True, but if the book title is already in the catalog, then you can, you the librarian, can choose to add it to your collection as well at your branch, even though there might only be one copy in the system. You can build its presence at your branch.
Or you could order a replacement copy. That is what I always
which is also very important because things walk.
No, things things won't, but the thing is that things also break really easily.
Yes, that's true. Some of the bindings are not all we could hope and dream for. So that was, let me again examine my notes. So we were talking about the call numbers. We've got, first I wanted to say, in addition to that Graphic Novels Japan, which is a very good basic way of searching, you also have Japan comic. So subject headings can be weird, and I don't know why. Sometimes you need to get the full picture, you need to try different subject headings, but you think mean the same thing. So here, okay, advanced. And so if I put Japan comic, and I'm going to put a little star here so that we'll cover comics, comic books, and so forth. The star just covers everything that comes after. And I'm going to put that in the subject field. Then we search. And there are 3,001 items.
Ooh, kill.
So not all of these both have Graphic Novels Japan and Japan comics. So that's why it's worth looking at both.
Wow. I see.
Here we got Graphic Novels Japan and Japan comic book strips, etc., but it's not always the case.
Yeah.
And so again, it's a good idea to see what results you get.
Or you could actually change I actually like to look at the grid style instead of the list style of looking at the catalog.
So yes, here's grid. We all have our preferences.
Because, grid, you actually could see what it is. You get to see it faster for your eyes instead of just looking at it one by one. Oh, look, Madoka, and then there's a zombie loan. Wow.
Yeah. So, so that, let me go back to my notes again. And, okay, cartooning Japan technique and comic book strips, etc. Japan technique are how you get at the drawing books. So,
if you want like individual facets of different aspects of Japanese animation fan culture, such as cosplay,
yes, then getting to the cosplay. Yeah. Yeah, the cosplay is actually a subject heading, but not, I believe not all the books about cosplay have that as a subject heading. So we got this. Let's see if it turns out properly.
Oh, Sarah, did you want to talk about the Blu-ray disc offering?
Oh, I should mention the Blu-rays. Yes, we do have. Well, I'll get to that when we get to the anime. And
okay.
So right now, this is art books. And there's a lot of titles. There's some cheaper and not as strong titles that are especially aimed at kids. I like the fact that there are a bunch of ones that are by Japanese authors. Not that American authors are bad or people away from Japan are bad, but just it feels like they are drawing on more of the legacy. So, for example, this one is one that I have myself.
That's an older title.
Yeah, it's somewhat older, but you see that. I mean, the 80 titles is a significant number of titles, and 27 of them are ebooks, so accessible right now to you.
Yes.
So, and then, as we were saying, cosplay. And again, I'm going to say cosplay with a star so that we pick up both cosplay and cosplaying. And instead of subject, I'm going to do all field, and we're going to search.
Cosplay is an acronym for costume play.
Yeah.
It's not exact. Cosplay is one of those where you appreciate a character so much, you would create a costume or an image that you could wear to a convention, and people could actually take pictures of you.
Yes, in fact, Ideally, they ask you.
They ideally ask you, yes, because there is a lot of like maybe gravitating towards sexualized cultures, which is not supposed to be allowed.
Yeah. Now, before our session today, I made note of some of the call numbers where you'll find them, but this is actually one that I didn't note, which is 646.478, which is sort of like household economics, things like sewing and so forth. So that's one place to look for them using a call number. But there are other call numbers such as, come to me, my little thing. We've got.
Oh, the maker, what is that? There's the blue cover, maker, what is that? Maker one. So, that one's actually a recent children's book.
Cool.
That talk about how to create a costume.
I think that's neat. So there's the two other cosplay areas that I can recommend are 746.92, which is clothing, but it's clothing more as art, and fashion. And then there's 792.026, which is specifically about costuming, whether that's for plays or movies or what have you. And so yeah, the Dewey Decimal System does tend to scatter things sometimes, and this is case in point. Okay, now let's look to our anime. So I found a general catalog search on anime limited by Japanese language yields 1,159 titles, and it was mostly correct. So let's put that into practice here. Okay, back to the catalog. So anime. I said anime. And then I can limit, so there's still some books here. Now it turns up things like animals, which is odd. But by limiting it by language to Japanese, we get a much more reasonable display of things that do appear to be anime. And you'll also see that we've got about 857 DVDs and about 156 Blu-rays. So the Blu-ray population of anime is still a work in progress, but as time goes on, I think we'll see a lot more of them.
Blu-ray is also considered to be Blu-ray is considered to be region-free. So it has merits in buying what is Blu-ray, even though it's a bit more expensive because DVDs are getting obsolete.
Yeah, but we're not there yet. So.
Yep, we're not there yet. Oh, wow.
So yes, so there's the case where animals still show up.
Well, that happens. Let's see. Can we do it by relevance? What can we
right now
by A to Z?
It is by relevance.
Relevance or A to Z? Or
we can make it A to Z title. So there's ABC Crochet Amigurumi, which is related to anime, I mean, or Japanese culture at any rate.
Yeah.
So I'm just going back for a second to look at what else I wanted to mention. So if you wanted books about anime, those would be in 791.433 and 741.5, which is where you find the books about manga also. So did you want to say anything? Oh, I can say one more thing. Let's try that call number here, because you can also search by call number. Catalog, where are you? Catalog there. And I'm going to use advanced because that way we can easily limit it. So I'm going to say and you can use the star designation as well here. And then I'm going to make it call number, and we'll see what we shall see. And so there's a whole bunch of books on animation, but also including anime, as this one and that one.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you have some resources to work with for your next school paper on anime. So that's just 12 titles, but it's still not bad. And if I were to take away the 4, I think I could potentially come up with more, although I'd also come up with more things that weren't matches. So
before 2000s, there would have before 2000s, in late 90s and 90s and onward, there was not that much graphic novels. Oh, and I see a Helen McCarthy book, Hayao Miyazaki. That one's a good one. Yeah, Hayao Miyazaki. That one is, she wrote that one, and she also wrote other books.
Yeah.
But she's a leading English scholar on animation.
There she is, yes. And one thing to note is that the grid display does not show you the call number.
Yes, it does not.
Yeah, so that's one disadvantage, but you do, as Linda said, see a lot more at one time. So you can switch back and forth depending on what you want to do. Okay. So I'm going to click back here to the main page and talk a little bit about programming. So right now, any programming you're going to get from us is going to be online, and I currently have my anime and manga group that formerly met in person. Now we're meeting on Discord. So I'm going to, in our notes, I will put the link to that once we post them. But I've been doing anime and manga programming at the library since around 2004, I believe. And so an anime group has formed at every place I've worked at since the Richmond branch. So first Richmond, then William Marrero, then Greater Alney, then Rodriguez, and finally Kensington. But mine are not the only programs by a long shot. There's also, there have been, and maybe still are in some of these cases, events at Whitman, Holmesburg, Walnut Street West, a lot of stuff at Parkway Central, the Falls of Schuylkill Branch, Winfield Branch. Coney Branch is currently having a teen cafe online that includes some watching of anime. And Centaur in the last year had a trivia contest about anime, which sounds like fun to me. The other big event connected with anime that the library has held is the Free Library of Comic-Con that ran from 2014 to 2019. Initially, it was just for teens, but it gradually expanded out to also serve children and adults. But the energy for it has dwindled, and the attendance has sort of plateaued. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll have more sessions of that. But for a number of years, it was a strong service to our public.
Oh, so not to drag away the point about what programs the Free Library has, but you know that this weekend is actually San Diego Comic-Con virtual. That's why you see and that's why you see Comic-Con 2020 at home and online. This is all programming that is conducted by San Diego Comic-Con, and everything is all on YouTube.
That's very cool. So free, in other words.
It's free. Everything is free.
So, yes, and that's not the only con out there that is offering this sort of service.
But but we're also bringing out other topics that we should wait for weeks to talk about.
Although it was worth mentioning San Diego Comic-Con since it is this weekend, right? So
yes.
So thank you for listening to all this. Oh, I should mention that there's an explore topic on the Free Library website, which is useful to know about in general. So you know those find and explore and ask blocks. Let me get back to there we go. So find, explore, and ask. Explore refers to basically collections of resources on different topics. So if you click on explore, and then you look at all topics, you see anime and manga right up there near the top. You click on there, and it gives you a brief description of the topic, and then it shows you some links to useful sites. And then it shows you subcategories. Anime classics everyone should see, books about anime and manga, latest greatest anime, hot manga, and so forth. Let's see, it says view the full list. What does the full list have? I see.
So these are curated lists.
Curated lists. I don't know how up to date they are, though.
Okay.
And I really think cosplay should be grouped under here too, as well as probably under cartoons or comic books. But and then there, I also wrote a blog post back. Oh wait, it should have been there actually. Explore. Here's my little blog post. Okay, I guess it wasn't there, but yes, I did a blog post about anime, well, specifically about manga, back in 2018. And so keep your eye on the Free Library website, because new blog posts may show up, and that might be interesting. Okay, so I think that's it for us for now. Is there anything else we should bring up on the topic?
Should we bring up about the notes from last week's conversation?
We, Linda has been hard at work compiling the notes from our discussion last time, because we want to provide a written form of the information we've been sharing. So
are we gonna do the same thing? Well, we already have the video up on Facebook, on collectively our Facebook accounts.
Correct. So it's on our Facebook accounts. It's also on Instagram, on Kensington's Instagram.
Okay.
And so you can definitely join us for that and watch that as well as this one. We also want to have at least some written content available. So what we're going to do is we are going to post the notes. We're still working out the kinks of how to do that exactly, but I think we may use the Facebook notes function. Simply copy the notes into a note in Facebook that is posted on our account.
Okay.
So keep an eye out for that, and I hope you enjoy your anime and manga week.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold up. We are supposed to wait. So it's like a kind of like a snippet of next week. We are supposed to be exploring about favorite genres.
Yes.
What genres we have that is our favorite, and maybe the library does not have it, but at least you'll know a snippet of what we've read and what you could actually try to read also.
Yeah. And
all right,
any of you show up to join us for our next conversation, you can tell us on the air all about your favorites.
Yep.
I'm hoping that will happen. In the meantime, sayonara.
Mata ne! Bye.